I would be among the first to admit that we made mistakes in government. I will be among the first to admit that there was corruption within previous Antigua Labour Party administrations. But I have to admit that the corruption that exists today under the UPP regime makes corruption under the previous ALP administration child's play, my dear people.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
There will be no job losses under the Labour Party administration.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance,
I now turn to the water shortage that has plagued this country for some time. And I say to you tonight that leadership matters. I say to you tonight that the water shortage that our people have been experiencing is an issue that belongs to a different age. And I say too that we have made positive steps in order to resolve the water problem. And I guarantee you that within 14 days, there will be increased water supply in this country.
Let's face the music and dance.
The cornerstone of our general election campaign was the provision of affordable housing. Indeed, we promised 500 homes in 500 days. And we said to you that you would have gotten 500 homes in 500 days. Those with little or no vision said that it could not be done. Well, as your Prime Minister, I say to you that it can be done and that it shall be done.
Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
This is True Labor Talks with your host, the executive of the Antigua Barbuda True Labor Party.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, so good to have you back for another week of True Labor Talks. You know, we go out in the constituencies, we try to meet as many people as possible that, I mean, even from other constituencies, when we go out, people are expressing their concerns and worries now, seeing that our country as it is still having a problem with creating jobs and meaningful jobs, jobs that last for long periods of time and provide work and train people with skills so that they actually have some ability, not the usual job where it's just labor work. I see this Labour Party, corrupt Labour, as finding work at this point in time, but they're unskilled jobs. They work with anybody with back-breaking work, anything that, you know, you're just a laborer, they will try to find something for you, but it's not something that you would really want to call a career. And that is part of the promise of the Prime Minister, even in regards to when the call center closed. You remember we mentioned that 3 weeks ago, Nedwell?
Yes.
Where he said that, don't worry about the call center.
Yeah.
Those jobs are laborers' work. Those are unskilled jobs. We want to attract jobs where people have skills. Mm-hmm. But the work that they're finding right now in Antigua and Barbuda is really unskilled labor. They don't have any companies coming into Antigua. There are no investments where you can find work that is somewhere where you want to stay for 10, 15, 20 years and actually have a career. And that is a problem. But I would just like to say that I've been in the constituency, and this wasn't a week that we went out in the constituency, but I still go into the constituency because I have several clients and people who want to meet me individually. So I'm out there. People are still telling me, Via, you don't understand why I only got 51 votes.
Yep.
You don't understand how I got 51 votes. I say, I understand why I got 51 votes. People aren't thinking about their families and their futures and their neighbors and their community. People are thinking about being on the winning side. People are thinking about we're having a party. We're going to have lots of paraphernalia, t-shirts, hats, and bags. And they're going to be partying with the motorcades, and they have their chicken and rice in their pots or their coolers, and they have the beers and the Hennessy and the Cavassier, and it's one big happy party. But you know something, Nedwell?
Yeah.
That party is going to come to an end.
Oh yeah, it's just about there.
And March 21st, it's come and gone. But when you say in a country that is supposed to be a proud black nation, after 36 years of independence, we can't find ourselves, even in regards to one of the basic principles of Antigua and Barbuda, our beach culture, where we considered it a fact that we fought for this country and all 365 beaches are ours, and we are the ones who fought for it, and our children, grandchildren, and future generations overall will be able to inherit and be able to enjoy all access to the beaches of Antigua without any harassment, without any confrontation. It seems to me that that's a problem right now, Nedwell.
Absolutely.
Let us say a few words, and I'd like you to continue after that to talk about the beaches, because you read something to me before we started the program. So say hello to everybody and do your thing, and then go into the beaches.
Yes, good afternoon to our listeners. Hey, good to be back with you again today. As my co-host also mentioned, that there's so many things to talk about with you today that's affecting our lives, and we really need to do something about these things that's happening. It's an awful situation, but he also mentioned that there are no investors coming in, no meaningful job, all unskilled labor and all that. That's what's taking predominance in the land right now. But then, I often wonder what really happened, because in 2014, and you mentioned that somebody had asked how the heck you only got 50-something votes, but in 2014, so many promises were made where not one kept, and they got more seats. So, it's really astonishing to see exactly what's going on and what's happening, and we are here to educate you so you can make more sober decisions and, to rectify your lives. Yes, we are. In regards to the beach stuff, I read something there that there was a stop order that came down to some landowner close to Buccaneer Cove, and he was putting a fence across where the persons normally access the beach. Now, I really don't even understand what's going on, because these are simple matters. And should not be an isolated case either. It should be all owners that have lands across near, close to these hotels or whatever. Let them know that the law states that we have the right to access these beaches, and we are taking it in such a half-step attitude of one owner being sort of chastised, or however you like to put it, but it's not supposed to be severe. It's supposed to be an overall. This overall thing with all our beaches, we're supposed to have access to our beaches, and you have to deal with all owners in that particular aspect and that particular way. So I don't really understand what they're saying, that DCA did that and Cabinet is saying, all right, okay, yes, DCA did that. But, DCA is not doing enough. They're supposed to be letting...
What do you mean in regards to DCA? Remember the article explained, you didn't tell them what happened with DCA.
Yeah, the article is saying that it's DCA who actually initiated that stop order. Able to invoke that stop order to say that you cannot fence across where access is supposed to be on the beach. And I can understand that. I do appreciate that way, but I don't think it's enough. I think all beaches is supposed to enjoy that same privilege for the people.
Let me tell you, in the elections for the 2014 general election, our manifesto had in there that we were going to amend the legislation so that you'll be a criminal charge. You'll be charged criminally if you block anyone's access to the beach.
That's right, that's true.
It is a civil matter now. Sometimes the police don't even want to get involved. You understand? And I would say if you make it a criminal offense, that these people who have properties on the beach or near to and can put down something to bar locals from getting on the beach, it will be criminal. So when they think the locals can call the police and report a crime, and they'll have to come and investigate it.
That's right.
I don't know why our government is taking so long. They say they're amending the legislation, but let's see what they amended to, because it seems like if they themselves, you see, they are the government, they're the masters over this country, and they're still pussyfooting with these people who own property in the beach. I saw the Prime Minister, when they mentioned this article, he was saying something, I hope it can be resolved amicably.
Yeah, an amicable
What
solution
do
to
you mean
this.
by
I
it
have
needs
no
to be
idea.
resolved amicably?
I don't know.
Is fish
It's
or
law.
fowl?
Yeah,
Do
it
we
is.
have access to the beach?
No.
Yes. Well, if we have access to the beach, I couldn't care less what the other person who doesn't want me to get access thinks.
Yeah,
I don't
it
care
has
if
nothing
he
to do with
smiles
that.
or grins with me while I'm sunbathing or going into the sea to swim or to float or whatever. I couldn't care less.
That's right.
That is my right. My grandfather, my family have fought more than most
That's
to have that right. And you're going to come to tell me you want to make it amicable?
Yeah.
Why
amicable
doesn't the
solution.
Prime Minister go and try to make it amicable what he's doing over in Barbuda with the Barbudans and stop pussyfooting and kissing up to these white people? That's the way it seems to me. It seems like he has all the talk, all the gift of the gab when it comes to the Barbudans to humiliate and to ridicule them. But when he comes out with some rich white person, he's talking about amicable.
amicable
and I
solution.
hope we can sort something out.
Yeah.
That is a step in fetching.
Yeah, it's a
And that
step
is
in
why
it.
I'm not with those people now.
Yeah.
99.9% of the leadership of the Antigua Labor Party are a bunch of step and fetching coons.
That's so true.
And that's family
That's-
included.
That's true.
Because I am telling you, this should not have been there. It's not even Gaston Brown times. Even in Leicesterborough times, this should not even have been a thought. After we knew we opened up these countries to all these foreign investors who are not accustomed to our culture and our history where we
Some
have access to the
policies and
beach.
stuff like
Why
that.
is it now
Yeah.
that you are now saying you're going to amend the legislation after Antigans have been harassed on their beaches for not 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years?
Yeah.
It has been a constant battle for us to reassert our right to the access to our beaches.
That's so true.
It's not their beaches. This battle has been fought and won by us.
Yep.
And more so, I wouldn't say battle. Papa Bird, on behalf of the Antiguan people, already purchased the syndicate lands. This country belongs to the Antiguan people. So I don't know the party which say they inherited his legacy or following his ideology and principles and
make me laugh,
practices.
yeah.
Is now saying in 2018 that they have to strengthen their laws and amend it so that we
We can
our
have
rights
access
the
to our
beach.
beaches.
But they're step and fetching coons. And that is what you face.
Yeah,
When the white people come, Labour Party, Gaston Brown, Leicesterborough, they shudder.
Yeah, it's
And
so
they
good.
act like step and fetching coons. That is the reality.
Yeah, it's so true. But as you said, they're kissing up to these white people. Amazingly, they want to separate from some and kissing up to the others. I really don't know what's going on with this thing. But they need to stop that. They need to just enforce the law the way how it's supposed to be enforced and do what they have to do and let Antigua people start to enjoy the legacy
A
of
hard fought
yes, of your
achievements
grandfather.
and gains.
And if it's
The
one
victory.
thing, I will say this time and time again. Papa Bird did so much for this nation of Antigua and Barbuda, which is does not seem to be appreciated by the ones who hold the positions in Parliament right now.
Yeah.
The things that they're doing.
I do hope that this legislation, whatever the present government amends this beach access laws, it doesn't just stop at Antigua. but it goes over to Barbuda and all other small islands.
Oh, yes,
down there, and
around
it's
neighboring.
all inclusive.
That's right.
Because I know the legislation or the plans for Paradise Found or Paradise Lost, as they call it, the Nero project. I think the guy Packer has left now. But the Nero project, and that was talking about what, 100 a mile distance.
Buffer zone?
Yeah, buffer zone, a mile.
Yeah,
you
some
couldn't go
madness
here.
like that.
Some craziness, you couldn't come to the beach
Yeah,
and you couldn't
understand what I'm
come in
saying.
the vicinity of the beach.
What?
And I'm saying, who the hell is Robert De Niro to be telling us that?
I understand.
If he
you know,
has his hotel or his villas or his beach bungalows or whatever you call it, and I want to go and sunbathe on the beach in
our
front of
beach.
his villas, what do you mean I have to stand 100 feet or 100 yards
Away
or a
from-
mile away or whatever stupidness he's saying in
you
that
know what I'm saying?
legislation?
Where this is so
So you can
ridiculous.
see where the problem lies.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I hope they're not going to say that only applies to Antigua, but it needs to be overall to all territories under the jurisdiction of the state of Antigua and Barbuda.
That's so true. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But we'll
It's
see. We keep
necessary,
an eye on
yeah.
it that well. I mean, the people have spoken, and they seem satisfied with a man who, before he should jump up, and you know, he get into his little premenstrual syndrome, attacking all Antiguans when they don't agree with him. Man, I've never seen a male period before. They say that these things exist, you know.
Yeah.
That the men have periods at some point in time. We have periods. not with the same physical
Right. Way of happening.
as a woman.
Yeah.
And they say we have premenstrual syndromes and periods, and we go through male menopause too.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I didn't know that nonsense existed until Gaston Brown. It's the first time I see a male period, a man premenstrual syndrome.
Yeah,
Because
right.
all I can say when he chewing out the Barbudans or he chewing out Antiguans saying, what, you're economic terrorists.
He's
I
having his
just say,
period.
Prime Minister's going through his premenstrual syndrome. He's about to menstruate. And leave it at that. I can't take on all that. If
that
it's all
time
you're
of the month.
rude and you're forward and someone start to get down low like the Prime Minister and start to cuss and start to use all kind of bad words at him.
Oh, yeah.
I just say the scientists are onto something. Males do have periods. Because if they check Gaston Brown,
It has to be that
99%
time of the month.
that what is going through premenstrual
It has to
syndrome.
be that time of the month. Yeah. Oh, man.
You can't even say time of the month. Time of the week.
Oh, yeah, man.
Time of the week that well.
Yeah, man. It's
I
so-
don't know what that nonsense is about, but
Yeah,
I'm not
it's-
having any of that
yeah,
stupidness.
His
So
arrogance is taking the better part.
his arrogance, his hubris,
Yeah.
his
All that.
belief that he thinks that he's doing such a great job. And we saw that even in Lester Bird's administration. We saw that even in Baldwin's when people come at you, you're doing a good job. You're building a car park on the last greens
Oh,
in
boy.
the major green acres in St. John's, Antigua. You're doing a great job, Prime Minister. Keep up the good work. What foolishness was that?
Boy,
What foolishness
they
was that?
swallowed
You
that
pass
stuff.
it And you just,
they swallowed that stuff and they knew what was going
boy,
on.
these coons just don't
Eh,
know when to say
You
stop.
can't swallow that. You know you're not doing a good
The Prime
job.
Minister then, Baldwin Spencer, the data project, building a car park, putting it where? Putting it on St. John's grounds.
Yeah, playing
Cricket
field.
field, football field, recreational area, a place where people can go and enjoy the breeze that
Of
comes down all the
course,
way
yeah,
from
yeah,
the east.
that was the
rising
first,
sun's gone from the courthouses
That's
and
right.
the cultural center and government building.
That was the
Comes
first
all
era.
the ways down. You have all those lovely mahogany trees.
Oh, you
going
mean
over East
shading.
Street or Independence Avenue.
Oh, you mean giving
And,
you
know,
shade and stuff
usually,
like
I remember as a child we used to walk that area. Was going over my
you
grandmother
mean?
Hannah Street and my aunt Bev and her sister Connie and her a good friend Connie would carry us as little kids around
I mean-
St. John's, and that was one of the areas we used to walk
And
by.
sit
It was a
under
nice
the
cool
same
breeze.
trees you're
You see
talking
people
about.
playing the cricket games and so on. And it was just a leisurely Saturday or Sunday
Yeah,
where
man.
there's not so many
Nice.
cars, there's not all that business in town,
That's right.
and you're able to enjoy what is there.
A
It's
nice
green-
atmosphere.
Yeah. No more.
Oh,
Somebody
enjoy
told
that.
Baldwin Spencer the best thing to do was to put down a
Put
car
a
park.
big, monstrous, huge,
Sometimes
you know,
you want, you know,
something that just really don't even add up.
only a step and fetching coon would do something that's
Yeah,
stupid.
it's just-
And I'm calling them what they really are. Because you got to see these people for the fools that they really are and what they've done to this country.
That's right. They messed it up big time.
And what's more, to tell you the truth, you know who was picketing and marching against that thing till last? Vere Cornwell Bird Jr.
I hear you.
The first time I picketed or marched after, well, picket, it was a picket we had up there after the election of 2004, was about the car park, the Sunshine Hub as they call it. They actually had a picket up there sometime, I think it was in 2015. And I was up there with them picketing and so on. But then it came around that the leadership of the Antigua Labor Party were not more into the activism. They had lost their edge, their leaders had gotten older. They were not pushing forward to picket and to march and to protest. So they became passive aggressive.
Yeah.
They said, leave it alone, let them build what they want to build, because you see even their own supporters, Vivi Richards and so on, who played at that park and learned this skill that cricketing up there, isn't saying anything. So we're going to sit back,
And
make
just
them
watch
mash
it.
it up, and then they'll come to us saying, oh, not necessarily leave them alone, and they'll come home dragging their tails behind
That's
them.
right.
That was the mentality of the leadership.
That was
We
so-
don't have to do everything. When they mash it up so badly, then they will come back to us.
Oh boy.
But the damage is done.
That's
Now
what
that
it
they've
is.
come back to you, what
That's the
you're going
whole
to do
thing.
about
You
St.
come
John's
back,
Park.
don't come back is a damaging situation.
That just shows you the
You
cool
messed it
mentality
up,
of
man.
the leaders of the Antigua Labor Party then, and even more so now.
Boy, yeah. The breeze,
understand?
man. The breeze that normally flow through that area.
Oh, Lord.
All that is blocked off.
Gone.
And the whole damage is done, and just let them damage, and then they will come.
Yeah.
This is so, you see the mentality here, this is so sickening, man.
Very, very,
This
very,
is just
very,
out
very
of
sad.
hand. You know, we know it, prevent is better than cure. You prevent it rather than trying to cure it.
Yeah.
And they weren't for that. They're into something else.
Yeah, man. These are the sort of things that when you look back, and I heard, and you're a young man coming home to Antigua and you're processing the nonsense that not only the UPP doing, but even the Labour Party
Yeah,
leadership was
Labour.
doing to counter what they were doing.
Yeah.
They weren't really doing anything. They didn't do anything.
Not a damn thing, really.
They sat back and allowed it to happen. I know we're catching hell in St. John still. Those roads are still so crowded.
Of course.
You have a car park that is, I don't even know what percentage is finished. All I know it cannot be used in its present
Whatever,
state.
that's right.
Because it's a hulking project. I've never gone in there, but it has about, 3 stories?
Yeah, just about.
And in these
as
3
I say.
stories, still cars cannot park in there.
Yeah, man, this
What is going to happen to it? I have no idea. I heard talk last year that they're going to finish it off. If they finish it off, that's a crying shame. It's a crying shame.
Well, yeah.
Because that was supposed to be beautified with all those mahogany trees
Of
and
course,
benches and
of
so
course.
on. And just so place of recreation, a place of beauty.
Oh, yeah,
all
man. It's
that
just something like
concrete
a
in the city.
huge park, you know,
Yeah.
where big people go and play,
You had the botanical
children's go and
gardens
play.
behind there.
Yeah,
You know,
just
you
back
look
of
at the
it.
botanical garden, you see the back of
Just
a car
back of
park.
it.
When Prime Minister Spencer was thinking about this project,
Oh, wasn't
you wonder
thinking.
what is going on in this man's head.
Yeah.
What is more important, to have a car park, or as a tourist comes to have a beautiful acres of green, a botanical garden somewhere where the tourists can come off the sea, off the boats,
That's right.
and go and visit the
Yeah,
botanical gardens
that's right.
and
To
see
see
the
the
natural
playgrounds,
flora,
to
the
see all
local
the good stuff.
flora and fauna.
That's right.
And then go and enjoy a lovely game of cricket or football.
No, man.
A lot of the English tourists would love to see
Oh, yeah,
some of
man.
those
Our
young
local
people's
play.
talent on display,
Yeah.
and sit down, drink their alcohol, their beverages, and those benches, and enjoy a good game of cricket.
Yeah, they killed that way. That was
They killed it.
They killed that.
They killed it.
But yeah, you know, the thing that amazed me, right during that time that they were planning to do that, St. John's Development went out and we had this project that we are going to try to implement to put parking meters on the road
Okay.
rather than the car park. So
yeah.
one, that we say that it will deter some people who don't have to drive, really have to drive from coming to town, because they will have to pay. And then for those who really have to drive, where they have somewhere to park, because they will be designated and specified what day you can park here
Yeah,
and whatnot and whatnot. And they kill off that whole. As a matter of fact, we had already gone and bought in some samples of the parking meters, and they're supposed to be still at St. John's Development.
Yeah.
But they kill that. They totally kill that with this big monstrous stuff. You know, we stay, if
One big car park.
Hey, look.
Solve the problem. One soup.
It's the idea.
Car park alone.
Hey, this is just so really ridiculous. And you know, what would have happened? We could still have that space, and you know, the parking situation will be more regularized, because then, you know, meters, you have to buy your ticket, and however, and, you know, we designate it to work. And it will be a better situation right now. We'll be actually making money from those parking
making
meters.
money from those meters.
Of course.
People just parking in St. John's now and nothing
You know
happens.
what I'm saying? So I really didn't even see the need for something like that, a parking meter. These are modern times where you have big monstrous stuff talking about a parking this, and then you can just put down some meters at the side of the road, you make your money and all that, and you know, you still regulate your space because people don't want to pay, so they leave the car at home, you know, things like this. Those parking meters had its values, you know, they would have done something for trafficking situation in Antigua, which this big monstrous stuff sitting there not doing. Not a thing.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Now, I want to go on to another issue, and is this whole 500 houses in 500 days that this present administration had promised the people back before the 2014 election, and even though they're still talking about the projects is still in existence. What we heard was that the Prime Minister, you heard it in the intro, that the Prime Minister is going to build 500 houses in 500 days, and we promise you, he said 500 houses in 500 days, and you will get 500 houses in 500 days. Now the 500 days is already gone, but you see them even on the way up Painters Paradise, just further up Old Palm Road, opposite Pigots, on the other side, on the right hand side, going up towards Parham, or the Vivian Richards Stadium. You will see that they are building several houses over in what they call Painters Paradise. Now my problem with that really is that the Prime Minister started, when they got into the administration, saying that yes, we could have built the 500 houses in 500 days, but there's no land to build it on. We're having problems to allocate the land to build these houses. And that was really the difficulty. When they said so in opposition, they didn't realize the serious difficulty in getting the land to build these houses. Now, from what we heard last year, it was 48 houses that was built down at Dredge Bay, which was one of the first 500 houses in 500 days projects. Edwell, you there?
Hey, man. This is
Yeah,
so.
man. You look hot, man. Pull those.
Yeah,
pull the
it
shades
is.
and
It's a
hands.
little warm, but I'm managing. Don't
Yeah,
worry
okay,
about it.
man, I was wondering about
I'm a
it.
trooper, an ex-marine.
All right. I just
Yes,
checking in.
yes, those promises, you know, and there's so much to talk about this whole thing, because that's not the only promise he made so many different promises, and not one of them fulfilled. And then, as you mentioned, they didn't have enough land to cover the amount of houses that they
So
wanted.
they said.
Yeah, they actually said that. And, you know, we have to take their word for it. But, you know, technology and the way modern times now, you know, speaks to itself. And, you know, not having enough land was no excuse. Because, you know, people are now building up there. And not only just now. Where I lived in the United States, it was an apartment building with 37 floors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about 3 floors. If we go up just 3 floors around here, because, you know, we suffer from earthquake and stuff like that, you may not want to go any higher. And if we go up 3 floors there, and you have 10 apartments on each floor, you're talking about 30 families that being
30
housed.
families could be housed.
That's right. And each floor, which will be, the 3, 4 will give you what, about 90? 3 trees and 9.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum. So we have to say that it's not enough land and all this and all them delay. And not only that, if they had done it in an apartment fashion where it will be more timely, it will be quicker, you know, because it will be one roof and not all those different roofs and all that, you know. So I can see enough thought. This again to me like was just how we done something that came to your head and you decide, let me try this one and see if we get to the people. And, you know, then time come for you to implement, and you're finding all kind of problems with it. And as I said, there's so much different promises that's been made, and all those promises just seems to come off the top of this man's head. And, you know, he just tells you this because election is getting close, and he just needs to score some points and things like that. And then, you know, this is what's happening in Antigua for right now.
This is what is happening in Antigua and Barbuda.
We cannot go along with this. We Antigua people need to actually start to take things serious, and look at their lives and start planning their future and for themselves and their kids and grandkids and stuff like that, and get things going there. All this party allegiance, it's hurting the country there.
Yeah.
It is hurting the country. You have to look at the situation and call it for what it is if you want the country to benefit. And if you're not doing that when you're on the other part, and you're just on the part of hurting the country.
Yeah.
That's what's happening to us right now there.
Well, the whole Dredge Bay project where you built 48 houses, they said they're supposed to be able to stick 30 houses down there. And we know down there is low-lying area, and that is sort of like Mango's area, where if there is a major hurricane or serious rain down there, that part is liable to be swamped and probably cause life or damage to property.
That's true.
But I would have suggested if he was going to do something down there, because land is so scarce in Antigua, build up. He could have had 3 or 4 apartments down there, housing 90 to 120 people.
That's right.
Instead, you're going to have 60. So you could have had double the amount of people down there living in those areas, with common driving areas and probably common pool that everybody uses, instead of each house having his own individual thing. The way this administration utilized even that little bit of land, it doesn't sound like they really thought that plan.
No, it wasn't thought out there.
Right? So I'm just letting the Antigua and Barbuda people that we're not just criticizing, but we're saying what we would have done.
Yeah, we could have
It
done
needs to be realized that a lot of the lands that Antigua had 108 square miles are no longer available. They've been bought up, they've been sold, they've been leased, and we need to better utilize what we have left.
That's right.
And they fail doing so that with the 500 houses. Right now up here by Painters, they have so many houses, and the problem is they push them out so close to the road, because going up from town to Painters, there are these high tension wires and these towers where they have electromagnetic waves, which have been reported and tests have been done that these waves cause cancer. And those houses are about 10-15 feet from these high tension wires and towers. Now tell me, how is that a caring government? What are you really doing there? Because I remember probably 20 years ago or so, even on the Shanda Coddington in the UPP administration, they were talking about those towers going up for Lightfoot, going into Seaview Farm. Remember that when they were talking about those towers? Even the ones over by Radio Range where ABS used to be.
Yeah.
You're talking about those towers. But the Prime Minister and this government are building houses right next to these towers, leading from town, go all the way up to Para.
Because they're not listening there. They're not listening
they don't
to
care.
people.
They
understand?
care less. They don't have to live there. And their supporters are so, they have drank drank of the well of UPP, ALP's supporters have just drank the Kool-Aid from their party, and nobody's thinking.
Absolutely.
Tell somebody about this. If it's Labour Party supporter, it's fine. If it's a UPP supporter, it's terrible.
That's right.
But if the UPP
vice
came back
versa.
into power and the UPP were doing the same nonsense,
That's right. It's
it
just
would
reverse
point
the
with just
position.
The UPP person will say it's just great,
Yep.
it's the wonderful thing. Barwin, oh, we see that, you're saying that, but he's trying.
Yeah.
But try harder. That's what we're saying. Try harder.
They try hard enough over here. But you
Try
see,
hard enough.
another thing that building up really does too for that whole community is that you have one common ground where people will park.
Yeah.
And people, the
They have
children
their
will play.
one swims.
That's right.
Large
For,
swimming pools
for
and so on.
all those people.
Instead of each home want to
have their
swimming
own, you
pool
see.
or backyard or so on.
It's more beneficial for
it's
each and
a
every.
communal living.
Yeah. I want to believe so.
But it would have been more efficient and better utilization of our limited land. And it's not being done.
Not at all.
So we will see how it goes from here on out. We're waiting to see how these houses
how it plays out.
I believe that those people are going to be frustrated in another 10 years. They get into the house. They're happy that they have a house, but they're going to see that there's no way of expanding really. How your neighbor can hear you in your house, whatever you're doing. You can't. Boy,
Yeah, it's a funny position to be
It's going to be
in.
interesting. to
Real
see
awkward position to be in there.
how this pans out.
Yeah.
And one of the things when government builds these housing projects, the next thing is the utilities, providing the roads, the sidewalks, the water to the house.
infrastructure.
Let us see how this pans out, because I know how they have a reputation of promising these things. Like in Mount Pleasant, where up to now those roads in Mount Pleasant are just ridiculous. Mount Pleasant development, those lands have been cut for 20-something, nearly 30 years now.
Yeah, but then after a while they start to tell you that you have to get your own lamppost.
You have to buy your own lights,
utilities and all them things.
And all kind of foolishness
Yeah,
like
no,
that. They
yeah,
don't have any up at
it's just,
don't do that for them. That's just the way of life in Antigua and
Yeah, it's
Barbuda.
sort of a sickening.
Yeah,
Sure.
sort of sickening. Now, I'd like to go on to another area, and this is in regards to the Prime Minister and Antigua not included in the visa waiver program. What has happened is that the United States has said that there are several countries, I can't remember all of them, but I know St. Kitts, Grenada, Dominica, and some other islands are allowed to not have to go to the physical interview in Barbados in order to get an American visa. Guess who's left out of it, Nedwell?
Antigua, of course, like
Antigua
everything
and
else.
Barbuda.
Of
We
course.
have to go.
Pull Barbuda.
Now, the
into this
Dominicans are below us. They are below Guadeloupe,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
So they're done halfway there, you know, to Barbados.
Yeah.
We are the full length.
Oh, we are
We're all the way at the top.
all the way across now.
And we have to go travel all the way past the Leeward Islands, past the Windward Islands, go to Barbados to see them, the American embassy, and get an interview in order to get a visa.
Because they refuse to.
Time, money, inconvenience.
Oh, yes, the whole thing.
But we are not included in the list of countries
That's the
that
way.
they have ways this physical presence
That's
to
right.
apply for your visa. The Prime Minister said something, he's wondering why that happened. The simple question is,
He knows,
look
he
in the
knows.
mirror. It's because of the things you say and the way you conduct yourself. When you're having your premenstrual syndrome, you know, back in the past, in the African tribes and so on, when the women have to see their period and so on, they lock them away now. They're separated from the
You
tribe.
gotta get the cost.
You know, maybe it's a male chauvinist society. They say, oh Lord, we can't deal with all that attitude.
Until.
All
Let's get over this.
Dual mouth and aggravation and
Okay,
so on.
man.
So I don't know. I mean, I can only make suggestions. Maybe Prime Minister, maybe you should go and get a little outside hut when you start to see your period.
Keep yourself to yourself.
And just maybe Gaston, and maybe Malvin and Robin can go lock him away in a room, lock him in the hut
Yeah,
until he calm down.
Yeah, for real. You know, he gets so hysterical, he doesn't listen. And that's not a good trait at all to have. You know, listening is a very good thing for a person.
That's needed as a
very
leader.
much so. You have to listen to me.
When you go and you go, well, they still have the World Trade Organization judgment that they have on America for what I say, $300 million or so, pop.
Something like that.
Decided with Venezuela at the OAS, Organization of American States. They had some votes sometime, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I believe that the America and its allies wanted to sanction Venezuela. I can't remember exactly what they wanted to do, but Antigua opposed it.
Oh.
Right? And there's several other things. Mr. Brown was being premenstrual, and he did go and slam them again with their due diligence and money laundering, being labeled as a money launderer. And these sort of things are what the Americans now are saying, well, it's not something that you have, it's something that your citizens want from us. And therefore, if you think you're going to get that and you're talking like that, then obviously you didn't see what we did to Kunta Kinte.
No, they didn't. Seriously didn't.
You didn't see what happened to Kunta Kinte.
They didn't see how far these guys will go.
I guess you didn't get the first run, but I mean, I'm sure you can get it on Netflix
Okay,
or
then.
Amazon Prime.
I understand how we
I
play the
think
game.
it was halfway through the Roots when Kunta Kinte say he won about 2 or 3 times already now. Master warning, behave yourself. Just cool out. You see, you don't try it already. You see, you can run fast, but our dog and horse can run even faster than
Yeah,
you.
we will hunt you down.
And you run away for the last time, boy. And then tie you to a
Last
tree.
foot.
Take up a good, nice chop list.
Oh, yeah.
Whack! Take off half the man foot.
Yeah, man, just chop out of it.
End
of the running career.
He not run away. He can't even creep too good now.
Hey, man.
You understand?
Yeah,
So,
it was-
Prime Minister,
Yeah.
world boss, look at Roots. Roots will tell you where your position is right now.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things being blessed as a black man in our present situation is that it is a white man's world still. And that is a fact.
You have to coexist with
And
them.
we have to, well, we send our children to study and we go and study there in their legal systems, we study in their
Medical
educational
system,
system.
those
We know about them more than they know about
That's
us.
right.
They don't study in our legal system
No,
or our educational
that's right.
system, you know.
We-
We know more about the white man, the Europeans,
right.
the Americans than they know
That's
about
right.
us.
For sure.
And that is an advantage.
That's a
that we
plus.
need
Of course,
to
it's a
use.
plus. You
You
understand?
need
It's
to
a-
understand what their mentality is.
Yeah.
And I would say, Prime Minister, we started this whole stupid CIP program. We are so proud of your great achievement. You want to pat yourself on the back and you wanted to be the one to claim that you came up with the idea and that Bowen and them heard the idea and they were
stole it from
but
him.
they stole it from you, but you were the one. Trust me, Mr. Brown, your legacy
Take
will be
credit for
much
it, what you see
for that
happening.
CIP program that you instituted or claimed to have invented or came up with the idea. That CIP program is part of the reason why the Americans have not allowed us into this waiver program.
That's right.
That CIP program is part of the reason why you have a man named Choxy in Antigua and Barbuda. You know, you
That's
think
right.
that isn't the reason,
Yeah.
Prime Minister, why they don't want to give Antiguans, a common man, a little, save him a little money, a little breather. Instead of having to go all the way to Barbados and get passports
That's
and
right.
fret up yourself and hand in the documents and pay application fee and this fee and that tax. That is what has happened
The reality
because
of it
of
all.
your foolishness in not being able to speak to them properly and to institute the CIP program and to go and back Venezuela and then to go and, well, it happened before you probably even gave into power, but to go and sue the Americans at a court that has no powers to enforce a judgment. But you have been going on and on and on and on about collecting this money. You have met with them, supposedly nothing has happened. Then the same man who came up with this idea of suing the Americans, Ron Singh Sanders, you put him right there in Washington, D.C., Antigua and Barbuda Embassy.
What
Sometimes
a thing, boy.
it's not what the past is, but when you go and rub salt into the wound, by not having somebody else that is neutral, somebody who came after, put some ambassador that had no involvement in that in Washington and see what if he can bring back better results than what Ransing has brought back for us. Because you're rubbing salt into the American wound. And that is why poor people can't have that little
Paying the
savings by
price.
not having to go to
Yeah.
Barbados to renew
Yeah.
or to
Poor people
apply
paying
for a
the
visa.
price. Yeah.
And that is the reality.
Sure is.
When you ask, you don't know why they have done this, and other countries that have CIP program are still getting in there, Dominica and St. Kitts. Prime Minister, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. And then go out in the hut when you have your PMS syndrome. When you're having your syndrome, go and lock yourself away because you're not doing Antigua and Barbuda any favors. And that is the reason why we're in this situation now. Nedra, what you have to say about that?
Yeah, we're not only them. That's the same reason why we're in the situation with Canada and all that. You know, the Prime Minister, diplomacy is not one of his strong points there. To be honest with you, the way how he go about running his mouth and say things loosely, I just said Malcolm X really was talking about a guy like this guy here when he says that black people use words so loosely and they don't care what they say, you know, when they say it and whatever. It's just a sickening situation how he goes about, you know, and he needs to, you know, bring himself abreast to some diplomatic moves and be able to speak diplomatically and stuff like that. He's a statesman there. He's supposed to be a statesman. He's elected in our parliament.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you carry yourself, you talk any old how you abuse when you feel like and all. This is totally out of line.
Yeah.
You know, and it's only hurting the local man. Now, when the CIP came into being there, I remember putting on Facebook that these bigger countries know that is not the local man who is selling passports. They know who are doing that. They know who the criminals are and all that. And but I tell you, if anything should ever go wrong with the CIP program, the local man, the poor man, is going to feel the brunt of it. And it wasn't too long before we seen.
So done.
You know, I have it right there on Facebook.
So
As a matter of fact, they said
But you
it
know what,
back as a
Nedwell
memory.
saying that
Yes.
on the 21st of March, they still went out and voted for more.
Yes. Yeah.
More.
I just don't understand it.
They didn't get enough of this. So where they could have saved 400, 500, 1,000, I don't know how much it is.
That's right.
Because I have a green
Yeah.
card. I don't apply for a visa.
Yeah, it's some good money.
What I'm saying is that the poor man which could have saved some money
That's
there
right.
with this waiver.
Could have just
They
saved
see that. Listen, you are the islands. We see that you all had a hurricane last year. Financially, it's a little tough on you, Dominica and St. Kitts and
Yep.
so on. I see no reason. I mean, you're all the way up the Leeward Islands to come to Barbados for a day or two just to get a
Yeah.
visa. Let us waive that. You put in the application.
Of course.
You already had a visa before. We based on the evidence
That you
had before.
presented prior.
We don't see you as a threat.
That's right.
To the homeland.
To just run off.
But to me, what they are saying, if they don't want us a visa, something wrong with Antigua. Something is wrong with the Antigua and Barbuda passport where you have to come in person. Are the Antiguan people realizing what is going on? You know what this is almost? This is a person non grata. This is a person undesirable.
Yeah. That's so
That
true.
is what we have become now.
That's
That is
how-
what we are
that's
becoming.
exactly what the attitude
Because you
shows.
can't say it's just CIP alone that does that, because Dominic and St. Kitts have CIP.
Yeah.
The politics, international relations that have come into play since 2014 by this administration have turned off the Americans.
Been turning off everybody.
Turning us up. Hey, before the man become prime minister, even when he chairman and so, the man didn't turn me off.
You know what I'm saying?
Why you tell? Man, I have period.
It's so sickening, though. It's so sickening because we all know better. We're grown people and we know how to carry ourselves. You know, you with the boys, you speak a kind of way. With the other guys, you speak a how. And you with the top ranking, you speak another how. You're supposed to be able to hold your own on any front. Not that you behave the same old vagabondish way all across the board. And this is what's hurting Antigua. We need to stop that. We need to stop the arrogance. And then just, see things for what it is and be real.
Yeah.
And until we do that, poor people will be facing the brunt of these guys' misbehavior.
Yeah.
That's what's happening to right now.
Yeah, Nedwell, what I can say to the Antigua and Barbuda people is that at some point in time, Marcus Garvey said black people only know themselves when their back is against the wall.
For real.
And if you don't see your back against the wall, I know
who's going to see it for them.
The fourth year of this ALP corrupt labor administration, they had 10 years of UPP before that, and they had some dismal times even on the Labour Party on the Leicester prior to that. And overall, difficulties in any administration. Some had good policies, were able to get some things done that were good. But now you see the way that it's not only internally, it is foreign countries are turned off. Probably our most important ally, the country where most Antiguans go to, is saying, before you come here, you're going to have to be interviewed physically, so we know who you are.
That's right.
Unlike Dominic, unlike St. Kitts, unlike Grenada and St. Vincent.
We are making sure that we know
we have to make
that
sure
you are who you say you are.
Something is wrong.
Absolutely.
Antigans, open your eyes.
Yep, that's what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I just do hope so. Keep my fingers crossed. We try to come here and educate them week after week. And let's hope that they grasp what we're trying to let them know and put out to them at this point. We need to touch on another subject here, the C.C.J. Yeah, this is heating up right now. It's it's a horrible situation on Facebook right now when we talk about the C.C.J. because so many people with so many different opinions, and as I said, it's heating up. People are getting hot. People are calling people names and all that. I've been called some funny names and all that. But, to say one, I can understand what people are going through. Some of them don't really understand what's really happening. Others do understand, and because of party allegiance and what they think their party, the direction their party is going, they make their choice from that. But I say this way, just like the general election, the people by now should have seen that the mistake that they have made because of what party allegiance have done to them, what handouts has done to them and all that, and start seeing spade for what it is and call spade a spade and do, what it takes to uphold those principles. And saying that, I will say that I've watched the arguments for and against the C.C.J., and I can, understand that some people don't understand, so they will say things, and they're talking about black advancement and, the black causes and all that, and we are still in mental slavery and all this. I say, what? I just don't understand it. Because all I know, the Privy Council has been established umpteens of years ago. And it's been serving the general public of Antigua quite well, as far as I'm concerned. I haven't heard of any outrageous decisions being brought down by the Privy Council that I'm feeling guilty of to say that I support the Privy Council. I've been hearing that, these guys, they get the facts, they look at it, and then, and as a matter of fact, if you want to talk about neutrality, there's much more neutrality having a court coming from the outside, out of the region, than what you will get in the region. And I was reading an article yesterday where your uncle was saying that he's having second thoughts now about the Privy Council, seeing the kind of judgment that these judges will bring down. He started to question, yes, and the quality of their judgment makes him feel uncomfortable now supporting the C.C.J. And this is something that I knew of a long time ago. I've seen this. I've seen the Observer issue. I've seen how they try to deprive us of the freedom of speech. If it wasn't for the Privy Council, and that was the last court that we had, there would have been no Observer. And that would have been a horrible thing, because lots of things has been brought out on the Observer Radio. People got to familiarize themselves with all sorts of things that's been happening in Antigua that they probably wouldn't even know if it wasn't for the Observer Radio. So when you see that appeals court try to really deprive us of that right of getting our message across, the world can hear us and stuff like that, it makes you wonder what else would they do. These are basically the same set of guys, Some of them get older, and we have some newcomers and whatnot, but it's basically the same set of guys that is going to be sitting in those chairs making decisions, and that we know most times are being biased because of who they are litigating and all that, and them kind of things. And I don't think that is a proper situation for us to get ourselves in right now. There's a saying, if it's not broken, why fix it? And up to now, nobody's come to tell me what area of Privy Council seems to be broken that's not serving our benefit, that we have to fix it. If you look at the 1735, if you look at that prison up there, God forbid that you have a flood, something that comes near to a flood that goes through that prison yard. Because not only the inmates in the prison yard will be subjected to be walking in feces, but in the road as well. Because you have something like a river of feces that sits there for as long as and this is what happened. You have persons defecating in buckets, and every morning they go and dump that into that river of feces and it just sits there. Can you imagine in this day and age, where this is 2018, Can you imagine, this is what people, she have a sharp edge bucket that you give, and 2 or 3 guys use that same pair.
Yeah.
You understand? And each day you decide which one is going to turn to take it out this morning, and all that crap. You know, the sort of sickness that comes from that. Because where they dump that feces as well, it's about 20 yards the most away from the prison cell. East of the prison cell, where all the wind now just blows that right back into those cells here. Hey, it's a sickening situation where, now you're telling me that you will prefer to go and rectify some C.C.J. that there is no ill, there is nothing broken, and you have the prison that is so out of whack that needs to be fixed. You need that. We really need to have that thing. You can't go, as I said, no. If they have a flood right now, or some real heavy rain, and and just full up that stuff, all in the road, Coronation Road it is, all in the road, people be walking in that stuff because it's there. It's just there, and it's going to float. It's going to float right through. Recreation grounds and so might get a taste. You know what I'm saying? So we need to do something about that, and that's supposed to be priority. And you come in now and tell me about some C.C.J. and C.C.J. don't need to be fixed. These guys are up there doing what they have to do. They're not telling you we're not doing it. They just do. You send your case in, they look at it for and face value for what it is, and make their decision.
Yeah.
And I don't see that anything so need to be fixed right now with that, and you have all these other things.
The pressing concern. There's no pressing concern that we have to have the C.C.J. now.
Look, to me,
I mean,
it's some other motive here.
Yeah. There's ulterior motives here.
As rigid as they're going about trying to get this in place.
We need law reform. There's some other political parties that say we need constitutional reform.
Yeah.
I am not going there. The opposition has 2 seats.
Yeah.
One by Trevor Walker for the BPM for Barbuda, and one for the UPP in All Saints East and Saints by Mr. Pringle. I don't know his first name.
Right.
2 seats out of 17. In order to amend the constitutional reform, you need 2/3 of the votes of Parliament. 2/3 of the vote, and you only had 2 opposition members in Parliament, and you're going to be talking about amending or reforming the Constitution.
Yeah, that's how bold these guys are.
I've heard that talk by some political opposition parties, and that's just that just shows a level of immaturity and not being able to face the reality. What we are saying in the True Labor Party is what we need is law reform. We need law reform of the penal system, how we hold our inmates, our people, corrective facilities, and even that, I guess, even the boys' show homes, the boys' home and so on, need to be brought into that and see if we can improve the product to get these young men on the right path. Because my problem with the prison in the condition it is, and the inhumane and degrading treatment that these inmates are getting, and that is what you're getting whether you are serving time or on remand.
Yeah, that's the horrible part of it.
Even the Mars even took out a couple of the prison officers too. So they got a taste of that too. And it's just an inhumane, unsanitary, and not dignified condition.
Not at all,
but people say, oh, well, who tell them to go break the law? But I'm asking you, when you treat a person like this and they serve their sentence, you let them go back into society. After you brutalize a man, you're going to tell him to go back and be good now.
Yeah, in society.
So that is my big fear. People say, oh, why are you going to serve a criminal then? Who tell them to break the law? I don't want to be facing these hardened people when they come out.
That's so
prison
true.
To me, in an island like this, where you may not know the individual person, but you probably know the family or the church that they go to, or some friend of yours will know them. Why brutalize them when you're going to have to be living amongst them in a small society like
sooner or later?
It may not get you today, but some of these brutalized young men may get you tomorrow.
That's
or maybe not you, your son, your neighbor, your priest, your doctor. Why are we going down this path in this small society? This is not like in the United States where you brutalize them in New York, but we live in a
Oklahoma,
on the West Coast, in California.
That's right.
We are a small society, 108 square miles. It will affect you if you continue
to
degrade people like this. We need a reform of our penal system.
Yes, John.
How we house them, how we treat them, how we try to educate
I'm in
those.
agreement.
Not all of them want to be stinging, not all of them want a better life or to change their
Yeah,
ways.
but those who
for the
are.
majority, I believe
Yeah,
that you
those
can
who
get
are.
through to and improve them. There should be that avenue available.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
Then
ma'am.
again, we need to perform our enforcement of the laws, the police station.
That's right.
And I'm going to fill you all in on another episode after I have a present case when that concludes and inform you of the nonsense that is going on in the police force of Antigua and Barbuda.
Oh, yes.
And that is for a later episode. But you have a police station at St. John's where it is an 18th century dungeon that they're holding people in over the courtyard on the western side.
Nothing fixing.
It is a dungeon. Those are where you hold people that have already been found guilty and they hung them back in there. That's the holding place before they hung them. Now we are holding people who are just being held until they get their first appearance in the magistrate's court or whatever.
The suspects.
So the colonials used to find people guilty. They used to hold a man, not in those cells. When they found them guilty, they would hold them in those cells and broke their neck. We know the proud liberated people who want the C.C.J. so badly to be free. We are holding our black brothers in dungeons where the colonials didn't hold you until you were found
That's
guilty.
right.
Young people,
You become
old
suspects.
people, middle-aged people, black, white, or whatever. They're held in dungeons, innocent until proven guilty.
That's
How
right.
can that be right?
That's right.
How can that be right? That is cruel and inhumane treatment.
Absolutely.
That is against our Constitution.
That's so true.
You understand what I'm getting at?
Yes.
And then again, we need to improve our courthouse, our high court, our magistrates court, our industrial court. The fees are too high. The staff are not are paid a decent salary. I believe you can get a better workforce in there if you paid people, compensate them properly. If you make certain that the stationaries, the filing folders are there, and you make certain that other stationaries are there for these people to do their jobs. Proper computers, proper desks. I've been into courtrooms that don't look like courtrooms because they're not properly maintained, they're not properly financed. That is nearly all the time we have now. It's already a minute past.
Wow.
Our time is gone so fast.
Yes.
So I would say that is where all I have to say is that on the 6th of November, Antigua and Barbuda, I implore you to vote no to the C.C.J. Not forever, but until this government or any successor government, until they pull up their socks in the prison and the police stations and the courthouses, and reform our legal system to serve the public better. We don't need another court at this point in time.
Absolutely.
Hold them to the fire. Don't go and do what they want you to do to get the C.C.J. and then they say, well, all right, enough about them other courts now.
Yeah.
That is all I have to say. On the 6th of November, vote no for the C.C.J. Nedry, you can have the final word.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as my co-host just told you, how detrimental it can be voting for the C.C.J. There are so many ills that they are to be taken care of that we are not even taking a look at. And as my co-host just told you, until they make those reforms and rectify those ills, it is not time for no C.C.J. right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Privy Council has been there for quite a while. They've been serving us quite well. We talk about maybe the cost of the Privy Council, but the cost of the C.C.J. will be not too much less than what it is, the Privy Council anyway. So the arguments are not just, they're not adding up. So ladies and gentlemen, on the 6th of next month,
Not next month, man, November.
November, I'm so sorry, it's the 6th of November. We just go and do what we have to do, and in terms of voting the right way. Ladies and gentlemen,
you take good care, and we'll be back next week with the grace of God. Bye for now.
All right.
A buzzard took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzard tried to throw the monkey off of his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack, straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of diving? Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. The buzzer told the monkey, you are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free. The monkey looked the buzzer right dead in the eye and said, your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Bree-doo, 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 da-da-da-da-da, da-da. The buzzer told the monkey, you are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free. The monkey looked the buzzer right dead in the eye and said, your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top.